It is officially fall, which means it is also officially the start of what the unmarried call cuffing season, I'm told. That's the period of time.
Because you're cuffed for life,
I'm
like
cuffed
I
for
am.
life. Yeah, anniversary was yesterday. After summer winds down, daters focus on finding someone to cozy up with for the cold months ahead. Logan Ury is a Harvard-educated behavioral scientist and the author of How Not to Die Alone.
I love it.
Has your attention. A guide to making better decisions in romantic relationships.
Sure.
She's also the director of relationship science at the popular dating app Hinge, and she joins us now. Logan, thank you for being here. I really
thanks
appreciate
for having me.
So what have you heard from single people about the fall? Is cuffing season real in their mind?
Cuffing season is real. So during the summer, a lot of people are traveling and they're really busy, and then they realize, oh, winter is coming and I want to lock down that person for those cold winter months. So cuffing season is upon us.
It's a thing. I mean, I remember when I was single and ready to mingle, we called it getting a winter boo. So my roommate was like, have you gotten your winter boo-boo? And I was like, no, I haven't got my winter boo. And then I call her boo, and we'd go on about that for a while. But so you are the expert relationship scientist at Hinge, and you say people make mistakes on these dating apps. What's the biggest mistake that people should avoid?
So a big mistake that people make is focusing on quantity over quality, and they talk to too many people at the same time. So according to our research, if you're talking to 8 or fewer people at the same time, you're much more likely to go on a date with one of them and get into a relationship.
Really? Just by not being as like spread thin looking.
Yeah, you know what it's like. It's hard to say, who did I say this to? Who did I say that to? You really want to focus on each person and really say, could I have a relationship with this person? Give them a chance. And if yes, great. If not, move on to the next one.
Yeah, and choice can be kind of paralyzing, as I've discovered in the cereal aisle of every grocery store ever. There's so many choices.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that Hinge is doing, which I think is really cool, is before people can match to new people, new boxes of potential cereal, they have to review their existing matches one more time. That's pretty great.
This is probably the thing I'm most excited about at Hinge in the last few years. It's called Your Turn Limits. And so it's really based on this research that if you talk to fewer people, you're more likely to go on a date and get into a relationship with them. So when you hit this limit, you either have to reply to one of those people or close out the connection before you can match with someone else.
So this is your way of like forcing people to not overextend themselves, be in too many chats, and increase the likelihood of a real relationship for me.
Yes, and I love it because as a dating coach, I can say to my clients, hey, talk to fewer people, but they may not do that.
Right.
But when Hinge is actually creating a system for you where it's easier to focus, that's really when people are going to be successful.
People are locked out of adding new people until they've kind of cleared out what they've got.
Yes.
Okay, so when they do get that first date, where should the date take place? Should we all do like we just talked about, you had daiquiris for your first date. We had appetizers and then a free dessert, which was like a good omen. Where should people go for their first date?
So the thing that I like to teach people is create a first date that plays to your strengths. So let's say that you come across as really serious and you talk about work. Can you actually design a date that shows off your silly side? Can you go to an arcade? Can you go ice skating? Or if you're really into fitness, why don't you make a first date where you go on a bike ride? I think those coffee first drink dates, they can really just not be very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that requires self-awareness, what not everyone has.
Yes.
You have some tips about chatting within the app to get on that first date, and the questions you say should be engaging, not shallow. What's the difference?
Yeah, so there's the shallow end of the conversation pool, which are things like, hey, how was your weekend? What are you up to? And that just doesn't help you stick out. And instead, I would recommend coming up with some original questions of your own, like, what's the last thing that you learned recently? Or when's the last time you were surprised?
But don't you think somebody on the other end would be like, okay, that's a weird question?
Also, like, come on, you're trying to get, I don't want to, it's too much thought, right? I just want to have like a little chat at first.
It is thought, but honestly, if you've been on the Hinge for a while and you feel like you're having the same conversation over and over, it's so refreshing when somebody says something that actually shows effort. I think the like, hey, beautiful, hey, gorgeous, how was your weekend? You're just like, forget it. This is just the same thing over and over again.
That's
so
true.
I want people to be intentional and really stand out.
Thank you so much, Logan, for being here.